right? A Huntington's chorea mutation that has somebody at some point in their life, unable to control their arms, hemiballismus of the arms.
What is it?
Huntington's disease is a deterioration of the parts of the brain that control motor function. The parts of the brain that control motor function have two main pathways. One is a go pathway, like reach for this coffee mug, and the other one is a no-go pathway, resisting movement. And the no-go pathway degenerates substantially, other things too, and people with Huntington's chorea end up with these writhing ballistic movements, and it's an inherited disease, so you know what gene. It's the Huntington gene. And if you know that your, for instance, parent has it, you can get tested for it. A lot of people don't want to get tested. They don't want the answer because it's late onset. So you can be normal a certain portion of your life and then get it. It's a tragic disease. But if you test positive for this gene, you know you're going to get Huntington's. In which case, with CRISPR, you could just put the gene back in and rescue function.
What causes someone to eventually succumb to that disease? If it's a late onset disease, if they don't have it when they're young and they develop when they get older, what changes?
Yeah, so it's not just deterioration of those particular neurons, it's deterioration of the neurons that control those neurons. Everything's working in a kind of a top-down suppression all the time. In fact, the head neurosurgeon at Neuralink, who's somebody I know quite well named Matthew McDougall, he came up through my laboratory, and Elon made a great choice in hiring him, told me recently the best way to think about the frontal cortex is that basically its main job, besides picking context and strategy for a given situation, is to tell certain parts of your brain that really want to do things, shh. That's the best description I've ever heard of prefrontal cortex. It's what's keeping Jamie from doing things that he shouldn't right now, and me doing things that I shouldn't right now. And every time you have a crazy idea, like maybe I should jump off this bridge, why would I think that? I'm not. That's a healthy operation of your brain saying, I want to because I'm kind of curious, but I don't want to, so I'm not going to.
Right.
With Huntington's, what happens is there's slow deterioration of those neurons, but there's a lot of deterioration of these neurons that control motor function. And eventually what happens is the deeper neurons that control motor function start shutting down the autonomic functions like breathing, heart rate. And so eventually people just succumb to some basic, we call them housekeeping functions. So they'll have to be on a respirator, and they have to, they have to use a catheter tube, and, they have to defecate into a bag. And, at some point they just become a deteriorated mess of neurons. So what's first to go there, however, is the control of motor function. And it goes first in the direction of too much activity because of all these brakes and accelerators that we have in the brain. So in any case, CRISPR, gene manipulation of the sort that this guy did in this laboratory in China, again, I think an ethics committee needs to tell the world or decide for the world what people should be allowed to do and not do. But you can imagine for something like Huntington's, it would be tremendously advantageous. Like if you had a child who you knew was someday going to get Huntington's, you'd want to do a CRISPR mutation and put the healthy gene back.
Is